Good evening, Erev Tov, everyone. This is a huge honor. First of all, Ambassador Judy Schorer, Israel's Consul General to the Southeast. My friend, Major General Meir Khalifi, the CEO and National Director of FIDF. Gary Sobel, who's been doing an amazing job over here. National Board Member of FIDF and Chairman of the Southeast. Seth Barron, Executive Director of FIDF Southeast. My friend George, the good Chayalim and Chayalot, the soldiers here that came from Israel. And you, my friends, it's, you know, beyond being Minister of Education, I'm also Minister of Diaspora Affairs, sort of Minister of the Jews. I'm your minister. Two weeks ago, I led the March of the Living for the first time. This time I invited ministers of education across Europe, from Germany, Hungary, Poland, and all around. Because we're at a very critical point of Holocaust remembrance, because right now we are in the very last decades where we'll be able to see survivors. And we have to think now into the next 100 and 200 years what it's about. So we were walking on the March of the Living, and I was sort of explaining. And at one point, I told the ministers, let's skip this, because they were walking on the main path, and I took them to the gas chamber on the left side. And I explained to them how it worked. And we were just all silent. Throughout the day we were talking, and no one could speak anymore. From the founding of Israel to today, the last Yom HaZikaron, 23,544 soldiers died defending Israel. That's 2 days of Auschwitz. 2 days of the Auschwitz murder factory. The founders of Israel, Ben-Gurion, decided that Yom HaShoah would be 1 week exactly before Yom HaZikaron. Yom HaZikaron reminds us of the price to maintain a Jewish state, while Yom HaShoah reminds us of the price if you don't have a Jewish state. Every one of you should know that regardless of any eventuality, anywhere around the world, ever, Israel is always there. But the IDF is way beyond just defending Israelis and Jews. The IDF is also the secret of the startup nation. To my experience, as George mentioned, my parents made Aliyah from San Francisco. They were totally secular, by the way, very disconnected from Judaism. In fact, my Abba, Jim Bennett, may rest in peace, first time he had an aliyah to the Torah in Israel, the guy comes to they ask him, "Ech korim lecha, what's your name?" He says, James Bennett. And they said, no, Shem ha'ivri, Yaakov, Ben 30. But I grew up in a house of Olim, and I always felt, yep, I'm Israeli, but a bit not. And coming to Tzahal, that's when I became Israeli. Because in Tzahal, it's an amazing thing. Nothing matters. Your background doesn't matter. How wealthy your parents are, no one knows. What your dad does, who cares? What the color of your skin is, it doesn't matter. You're measured for your character, for who you are. Because Tzahal gives a huge opportunity to every boy and girl in Israel to thrive. Now, people think that the secret of the startup nation is amazing innovation, and to a degree it is. But you know what? There's smart people all around the world. What makes Israel the startup nation? And just to give you a sense, last year, VC investment in startups in Israel was equivalent to all VC investment in Europe combined. Okay, we're up. In 2013, we were at 2.5 billion, 2014, 3.5 billion, 2015, 5 billion, and 2016, $6 billion of investments in new startups in Israel. So what's the secret? So I did 2 of these startups when I was fortunate to be in the business world. And I think it's not only about innovation. I think the secret sauce in Israel is entrepreneurship. And let's understand, innovation is to come up with a great idea. Entrepreneurship is to make it happen. And that's the extra edge. The IDF, Tzahal, Israel, we're not great at some stuff like long-term planning. Don't come to Israel. But politeness. Just on a side note, Israel, as the Holy Land, has secret and special physics. In fact, in Israel, you can enter an elevator before people leave it. Unique Eretz HaKodesh physics. But what we are good at is quick execution. I'll tell you, I served in Sayeret Matkal. It's the guys who did it in Entebbe, where Barak served, and Yoni Netanyahu and Bibi Netanyahu. And so we do anti-terror training and rescuing hostages. So basically, imagine this ballroom, there's 7 terrorists here, and we have to save you. So the principles are really simple. Get in, kill the bad guys, try not to kill the good guys. That's sort of the guiding principles. But here's the thing. We're told, you get in. Now, if the doors are sealed, get in through the windows. Windows sealed, punch a hole in the ceiling, but you get in. Now, and you got to get in. We don't care about how. Just get in. And that's the secret of the Israeli startup environment. Get in. Get it done. We don't care how. Just get it done. And I think, as Minister of Education, our education system is okay. It's not amazing yet. It's on its way, but it's okay. But that's not what differentiates us from the rest of the world. What does is the informal shadow education system, which is the youth movements Bnei Akiva, Scouts, where in Israel there's a unique trait that kids are the instructors, not adults, no adults. So, when I was in 9th grade, I was leading 80 kids on a hike in the Galilee. That is so utterly irresponsible. But just imagine what it does to a 9th grade kid, how it expands his abilities if you survive it. And then at the age of 22, and not unlike the folks over here, the soldiers, I was leading about 100 soldiers behind enemy lines in Lebanon, and you have to coordinate artillery and air force, and what if Hezbollah comes here, and what if... And then when I entered the high-tech world, in fact, I had a customer not far from here in Columbus, Georgia, called TSYS, Total Systems, financial. So I remember we were about to pitch them this big deal. It was a bake-off between us and competitors. Everyone was shaking. And I kept on saying, worst comes to worst, we're not going to blow up on a landmine. We're just going to lose the deal. And it sort of puts things in perspective. And I think that is the real secret. So the IDF Tzahal is so much more than just a defense force. It's a home, it's a family, it's the Israeli ethos. And that's why I'm so excited that all of you are part of that unique ethos. An ethos that inculcates us with good values of being a good Jew, a good person, of connecting. Because as I said, you have Haredim, you have Druze, you have Moroccans, Polish, you name it. And we're all thrown together and just get in. We don't care about anything, just get in. And that creates such a special bond. On Yom HaAtzmaut, Independence Day, just a few days ago, so usually, you do barbecues and hikes, but when you're an education minister, you got to go to two big ceremonies. One is the Bible contest, and the second is the Israel Prize, the highest prize in Israel. This year, we awarded the prize to a guy called Tzvika Levi. He is the father. He's called the father of the lone soldiers of Israel. Tzvika has a terminal disease, and unfortunately, I don't know how long he's got. He can hardly talk now. And he asked to speak, and it was breaking the protocols, and they said, you can't. And I did the Israeli thing. I just took the goddamn microphone and gave it to Tzvika. I had to hold it, and he was whispering. This sort of caught the whole nation. He had to tell one story, and he talked about a lone soldier. Her name was Julie Weiner from France. She came on her own, and they were very close. She was selected to join the officer's course. On the first day of officer's course, you have an exam. She was on her way, and she said, I don't know. In the exam, ask lots of questions. One of them is recite the words of a tikva. So she called him Tzvika. This is about 12, 13 years ago. Tzvika, I got to prepare. So tell me the words, I'll sing it, you'll sing it. And they sang it to each other. And Tzvika says that when they came to the verse, Liot am chofshi be'artzenu, to be a free people in our land, the phone went dead. Turned on the radio, you heard there was a terrorist attack at a junction in Azur, and Julie was killed. Julie Weiner died. Her very last words being, Liot am chofshi be'artzenu. That's the price that we pay to have a Jewish state. I'll end. I want to read there's a very special song that sort of accompanies me for many, many years. My hero when I was a kid was, like many others, was Yoni Netanyahu, For the younger generation, we're talking about Jonathan Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu's older brother, and he was the commander of the force that raided Entebbe in 1976. Just again to recap for the two people here who don't know the story. In July of 1976, an airplane, Air France airplane from Israel to Europe was hijacked and ultimately landed in Uganda, and the Jews and Gentiles were separated, the non-Jews were released, and there was a deadline: if you don't release all terrorists in Israel, we're going to start executing the Jews, the Israelis. And my unit, Sayeret Matkal unit, this was way before, was sent to lead this mission about 2,000 kilometers from Israel, landed pretending to be Ugandan airplanes, landed covertly in Entebbe, entered the terminal, killed the bad guys, released the good guys, and only one soldier fell in that action, and it was the commander, Yoni Netanyahu. My first son is called Yoni. So the song is called B'Chatzi Halayla. I'll read just a portion of it, and then I hope, even though we didn't plan for this, the folks over there will be able to put it. בחצי הלילה הם קמו והיכו בקצה העולם. כבני רשף חשו, הרחיקו עוף להשיב את כבוד האדם. In the middle of the night, they rose and struck at the end of earth. As eagles, they flew far to restore dignity to mankind. And then it describes the return to the land of Israel and its sweet fields, to the Carmel and the desert, to a people who will not again be silent, that will never abandon their sons. After the Second Lebanon War, another part was added. This was written in 76. In 2006, 30 years later, it was mentioned Roy Klein, an officer in the Golani Brigade, dived on a hand grenade to save his platoon, so they added one more verse. When dawn broke, he was pulling a wounded soldier. When a grenade was thrown, with his body he covered it to save life. So I want to thank every one of you. I want to tell you that we in Israel care about every Jew in the world, whether in Ethiopia, in Yemen, in America, or hostages in Entebbe. The Jewish homeland, the Jewish state, is responsible for every Jew in the world. And knowing that you're there for us means everything. Toda Rabba.